Jacki and Laurie, I'm going to chime in here a little bit. Um, Gang, I was texting Jacki this afternoon, excuse me, um, and she told me about Laurie's testimonial, and we ended up on a call. And actually, most of my prep calls for these testimonials don't last long, but I was so intrigued by this particular testimonial. And I'm not sure, Jacki, that I completely understood it all, which is which is why I asked Jacki to join me in this interview. So this is going to be super casual, Laurie, but for those of you on the other side of the Zoom, very conversational. And this is why I get super excited about MPG, Marketplace Global. Our products bring huge intrinsic value to people's lives, and it just excites me when I hear these types of testimonials. So got a little frog I brought back from the mountain. So anyways, Jacki, I'm going to let you kind of start this process
Yeah.
just because I know it's so fresh in our conversation. And let's just see where this takes us.
Okay, great. I just first of all want to thank Ashley for what she just told us because people do not see somebody with anxiety or depression or panic. You don't see that on a person. So that's a private conversation that I'm really grateful that she shared that with us all. And I know a lot of people that could really love to hear that testimonial. First of all, what Jim is talking about is uh, an interesting thing that Lori Day has been involved in. And I've watched her work for a long time now. She's highly respected, and I'm honored to interview her. And it started out finding out about your daughter, Lori. She's type 1 diabetic. My nephew's type 1 diabetic. And boy, do I know about the ups and downs of type 1 diabetics, but especially in kids. So, first of all, I want you to share with everyone how this happened with your daughter, what you chose to go ahead and do, and then what you've seen so far. How did you get on the fix for her?
Okay. So around 5 years ago, she was undiagnosed as she was hospitalized, and we nearly lost her as a undiagnosed diabetic ketoacidosis. She lost 20 pounds and it was horrible. Um, the hospital told me that type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. So that triggered me knowing that autoimmune disease is attributed to food. So I went down this rabbit hole to find out what food, and if it can be, if it's autoimmune and it can be turned off, maybe we can turned on, maybe we can turn it off. Well, I talked to my chiropractor who introduced me to Colette and Randy Freiberg, who are naturopaths. So I started taking my daughter there, and he's been treating her for the last 5 years with different herbal supplements and stuff. And she's improved, a little bit here and there. And then puberty hit, and then everything became out of whack with type 1 diabetes. Well, about 4 or 5 months ago, Colette called me up and she said, Lori, there's this product, it's called PHIX, and it wakens the vagus nerve and it's responsible for 1,100 body functions. And that's all I needed to hear. I thought, fantastic, a supplement that is responsible for 1,100 different things. It's a lot better than taking a shopping list of supplements for everything. And and originally she's like, oh, when people are losing weight, it melts visceral fat and da 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 and going on. And I'm like, great, I want to lose 20 pounds. That's all I want to lose. I'll start taking the fix. Well, after a month and a half, 2 months of taking the fix, I think that's when the fit was launched. And I thought, okay, I'm not losing any weight. I'm going to try the fit. And then if I don't lose any weight, I'm going to quit. It's not working. I'm here to lose weight. It's not working. I started taking the fit, wasn't losing any weight. And then I decided just before I was ready to quit, I have a device that helps measure your body's resonance and how it communicates with every organ in your body. When there's an imbalance in your body, it will show a very, very low frequency number. The lower the number, the more the pathology is developed. So I already know that I had bought this device at, months and months ago, and I've been using that device to help try to slow down the progression of my daughter's type 1 diabetes, to help her not be insulin resistant and become more insulin dependent, where we have to constantly give more and more insulin.
Would you say that this is similar to a CT scan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So it's very similar to that. So before I was ready to quit, my spirit told me, run a scan on yourself first. Well, I ran a scan and I was shocked because prior to taking PHIX and PHIT, I knew that I had a lot of plaque in my arteries throughout my whole body, my brain, all of the different organs, my heart, everything was showing an imbalance, and it was showing that it was getting worse. And I thought, wow. Now when I ran the scan after taking Fit and Fix, the plaque in the arteries was diminishing. The numbers were improving. I saw on my charts, which normally shows up when there's an imbalance, it shows up chronic. Now I'm not chronic. I'm not in a chronic state. And I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. I got to make sure now my daughter is taking it. So
Right.
so that's when I started giving it to her. And intuitively, I knew that I needed to double dose of Fix and then a double dose of Fit. And I just watched my numbers improve. Well, I started my daughter on the Fix, and I would give her 2 droppers a day. And then we went to the endocrinologist for her regular checkups, and her A1C score went from 7.6 down to 7.2. And we
That's
haven't done anything differently. I'll actually add this though. I'm excited to try the Emulin 5 now because I want to see if I can bring her A1C scores down even further. So that's on my auto ship for this month. But so after her A1C scores came down and the endocrinologist said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And my daughter and I just looked at each other and gave each other the look, the eye, because we know that, modern medicine with an endocrinologist, they want you to be more on the medications. They've been bothering us for years now to try to get her on a diabetic pump, and we refuse to do the pump. So we're hopeful to keep those scores going down.
Now, didn't she take some, tell us about what happened when she was
Oh,
going into her sport?
yes, yes. So my daughter's in volleyball, and normally before volleyball games or practices, her endocrinologist said to make sure that her blood sugar is slightly higher and don't take too much insulin before exercising so she doesn't have a crash. Well, since she has been on the fix, she's noticed like one day she took 6 units of insulin versus her normal 10 for the amount of carbs that she was consuming. And she started to crash, meaning her insulin was dropping, going straight down. Like her monitor is normally sideways, and this was going straight down. So when it's going straight down, that means she needs to take some sugar. She was taking sugar and it wasn't moving. She's like, "Mom, I'm popping all this sugar and stuff in my insulin. It won't change. The numbers won't change." I'm like, "Well, fantastic. I'm excited. I know it's a little bit scary for other people, but I'm excited because this is telling me that her pancreas is healing and her body is using the nutrients, and it's doing what it's supposed to do in repairing itself." So I said, "Well, sweetheart, now you know you can't use 6 units of insulin for when you normally use 10. You're going to have to drop it and adjust it a little bit more so that she doesn't have those crashes." So then that got me thinking. I said, "Why don't I test her on my scanner?" Because it's been a while and I haven't tested her. And when I pulled up the scanner, all of the pathology, all of her organs was now showing imbalance, not imbalance, but everything was improving. Her pancreas was getting stronger. Um, the other organs and systems were getting stronger. And I was just like, oh my gosh, we might have a cure. I know we can't say that, but we might have a way to really help the body heal itself for type 1 diabetes.
Right. Well, see, because these are the products that give the body the ability to correct
Mhm.
itself. It doesn't treat, cure, or ameliorate any
Yep.
disease. So it's not even the cure word isn't applicable here.
No.
It's really what the fix did to give the body the ability to do what it was supposed to do. And I know you've had evidence with the scanner, you've had evidence with the endocrinologist. Now you're seeing evidence with her sugar levels going down and possibly crashing. But then now you know how to manage that. So that's three evidence right there for your daughter. What happened to you?
Well, with my atlas, like it was showing plaque in the arteries, which is like atherosclerosis. The more I took the supplements, the more I started noticing, wait a second, the scanner is showing me the plaque in the arteries is disappearing. And of course, you don't feel plaque in your arteries building up, so you're not going to feel it going away. And that's why I was ready to quit because I didn't feel anything and I was very in tune to my body. I was expecting to feel something. And then I noticed I no longer had plaque in my teeth. I was like, wait a second. I had a dentist appointment that I was supposed to schedule, and I just been so busy and I haven't scheduled it. But then I realized I'm like, you know what? It's been a year. I've missed my last 6-month checkup. And normally, if I miss my 6-month checkup, it doesn't matter if I floss, it doesn't matter what I do. The plaque is there in my teeth. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like going, wow, it got rid of the plaque in my teeth. And a friend said to me, well, if it's getting rid of the plaque in your arteries, it's going to get rid of the plaque everywhere. And that includes your teeth. And
So
I
you
thought,
saw
this
this
is,
on the scanner. You're not, have you gone to the dentist yet?
no, the dentist is next Saturday.
Okay, be interested to hear about that. And your other evidence is the fact you can feel and see that.
Yep.
You know what, I find this really funny, and we can close with this, but you were fantastic, and we just love hearing more and more of the things you're finding out. You were going to not do this because you
Oh, I
didn't,
was ready to quit. I was
you,
ready to quit because
right,
I didn't feel anything. I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling anything. I'm not losing any weight. I wanted to lose weight. And, what's the alternative to getting rid of plaque in the arteries? Take a
right.
statin. Take a statin. Oh, well, I don't want to take a statin. Now I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Take PHIX. Your vagus nerve will wake up and it'll tell your brain to go and go get rid of the plaque. And that's it.
And you also found in closing, using the fit and fix together is very powerful.
It, let's just put it this way. You can get there slowly or you can take the bullet train.
Oh,
Your choice.
okay,
So
great. Thank you.
Yeah, quick question, just for perspective. How old was your daughter when she was diagnosed with type 1?
11, she's 11 years old and she's 16 now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is I'm gonna actually just hang on a second, gals. Ben, I'm gonna have you unmute. Um, there you go. So Ben, the guests wouldn't know this, but a lot of our regular attendees will. So you back in July or August, way last summer, so that would be 15 months ago, 16 months ago, at your clinic, you started to have people fill out reports. Is there any, I mean, you and I did not prep for this. Is there any correlation between what you're hearing?
Absolutely. The thing I like to explain to everybody, Jim and Laurie and Jackie and Ashley as well, is that people forget what this vagus nerve really is without the mastery healing switch, right? But one of the things we also got to remember, it's also what I call the tuning fork. It's the master tuning fork. And when things are out of balance, it's what brings life back into balance. Think about this. If we even go back to Ashley's testimony, what she was talking about on the vagal syncope issue, when you lose vagal tone, the body starts really shutting down, right? And as Laurie was talking about bringing in this autonomic nervous issue, when you look at the system's inability to communicate and to respond, things start to happen. Now, if I take Laurie's case, for example, there's a term called chylomicronecrosis, just a really big word that means that certain size of microns, which are the smallest fat in the arterial, when they become oxidized or rancid, that's the beginning of the plaquing. We call that a foam streak, foam cell, fatty streak, then arterial or an atherosclerosis. And when that's going on in your body, I love how Laurie said this, is you don't feel that happening, right? We're talking about cardiovascular disease, #1 killer in North America. We don't feel it developing every single day. But the vagus nerve, which is responsible 24/7 for what happens to your body, when it becomes demuted or the vagal tone becomes reduced, now we start seeing things that eventually start showing up. And most of those things can take 10 to 15 years. In Laurie's daughter's case, it took 11 years, right? And if I remember on Ashley, the part that I heard, it happened when she was young. So those things are developing in the younger phase that affect the totality of their life. And when we can see these things being corrected, I'm going to change that word to corrected. When we see the things turned back on, and Jackie mentioned this, when you have that God-given creative ability in your body to know something's out of balance, and something comes in like a tuning fork and rebalances all these frequencies that she's doing on this frequency scan, this almost like a CD issue, all of a sudden the body is able to resonate the way it was intended to resonate. And once the resonation is turned back on, now the body can see, and we talk about that, the PHIX itself turns on that master switch, right? It turns on all 1,100 of those communication points. And as Laurie said, I love it, we always call it the jet fuel, but then the PHIT comes in and it makes it go 10 to 20 times faster. And here's the problem. People, I've had my own family members, and other people go, well, it didn't do what I wanted it to do, so I'm going to slow down and stop. And like Laurie, like some of these other people, like Ashley, when they stop and these things come back on, that's when they're noticing something is changing in their body. We're just not aware of it. So we've seen so many of these things, and people say, how can these tools, I call them tools in our practice, how can these unique supplementation tools do so many divergent things in the body? Is it a magic potion? Is it snake oil? What is it? Well, here's what people forget. When you realize that the vagus nerve controls everything from whatever you don't have to think about, breathing, heart, blood, digestion, stress, anxiety, hormones, cycles, all these things, even your skin itself, the hair on your skin, even fighting mosquito bites, even getting small infections. 100% of that is vagus nerve or the vagal system, right? And when we look at what this does by turning that on, the PHIX for sure, and then the PHIT's coming through and speeding that up with jet fuel, making so many more things react and respond in its God-given way, why are we putting man-made stuff in there? There's nothing man-made in these products. 100% God-made. So that's the beauty of what this is doing. Go ahead, Jim.
Right. No, as I'm listening to you, we forgot something on Laurie's conversation earlier, Jackie. Really quick, Laurie. So you ran the test on the PHIX and PHIT.
So what I did, because my device can measure the strength of the ingredients in supplements. And so I decided, after I saw all of these wonderful results with myself, I said, you know what, I'm going to put it in the machine and I'm going to test it against all of my organs and see, because what number comes back. And so for instance, if I were to stick magnesium supplement in there and I put the label of the brand that comes in, it will show up that it is improving or weakening the organ that it's intended. So if it's weakening, that means the ingredients are poor, or my body just doesn't need that particular, like magnesium. So I decided to run the PHIT and the PHIX with it. And I was blown away by the results. Every organ I was testing, I was texting Colette afterwards. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's doing this to this. Oh my gosh, it's doing this to that organ. I was so excited. She's like, holy cow. So I got onto this rabbit hole where I wanted to test every single organ with the PHIT and the PHIX. And I did the whole digestive system with both the PHIT and the PHIX. And here's what I noticed. It improved every organ in the body by a minimum of 20% and as high as 70%.
Right.
That's huge.
When you look at what's called somatoresonance of potencies of these different supplements, that's what she's measuring. She's measuring, first of all, the practical applicability to her unique situation. That's the beauty of it, right? And when you have the purity of it, it means it's going to go into those systems. Oh, by the way, it's not just humans who have a vagus nerve and a vagal system. It's animals, it's plants. There's a lot of them that have that. And so when you get this resonance, all right, this resonation of the purity of the potency, and the body goes, that's what I need for life. And when it hits stem cells, it hits every aspect of it. It hits your DNA, and it's rebuilding you according to your blueprint that God gave you.
Mhm.
Only you know the results your body's going to do. Jackie will get different. Jim will get different. I'll get different. Byron will get, Terry will get different. Because our resonation is for what our weaknesses are, right? And we all have the different ones. 96 different body types that we know of, over 140 total, but 96 different groupings. And this is the master switch for everything. Think about a master switch in your house. If you pull one switch, all power goes off. Kind of like what happened in my computer a while ago. All right. That's the issue, what this is. And so when you have this master healing switch and it's been demuted, and as Laurie is saying, there's not much potency left in the body to orchestrate that healing. And this turns it all back on. And then you give that jet fuel or the bullet train, as she said, and now all of a sudden things are going to go a lot faster. It's phenomenal.
Ben, hang on here a second. I want to screen share everybody. I've gotten a couple texts. First of all, since this came up, I want to reiterate that this is their story. Okay, let me see if this will move around these stupid Zoom controls. There we go. Want to get over to this. I want to come back to this folder because my text is blowing up. More information. This is the essentials, product education. You go to PHIX. Ben, I'm gonna walk you into a question here, but we've got this how to use PHIX, and I think we forget at the speed that we can enroll people that we forget to explain to them how to use this. You've got these resources here, a list of possible improvements. I'm going to come out of here because everybody can really just go to this resource on their own. But you remember when we were pre-launching PHIX and then this spring PHIT, and it's interesting because as you and I and a bunch, I mean, corporate, several builders, leaders, as we've gotten to know the formulators at a deeper level, it's interesting, Ben, that as we hear these types of stories from Ashley and Laurie and all the other winner circles, none of this seems to surprise you, Ben, right?
Correct.
Okay, so for the guest that's listening, what if you could like just tie this in a bow really quick? What would you tell the guest to do, the new enrollment?
Well, the first thing is for those who have problems, obviously as a physician, I'm going to say go slow, right? But just to make sure we're saying that. I generally start people off with one dose a day, first thing in the morning within an hour of being awake, because we want to turn on that vagus system. The vagus system is different in the parasympathetic versus sympathetic, as Terry was talking about earlier. And when Ashley was in constant sympathetic, I mean, just think about what happened in COVID. Everybody was in sympathetic, all right? And that's why we saw so many disease entities, so many things blow up because of all that stress and that pressure that was happening during that time. We still have it, by the way. We're still living it. Majority of people are still living in a stressful environment. So if I can get somebody to take it first thing in the morning, I'm going to actually get them to do two funny things. One, we're going to slow down the stress indicator of the sympathetic nervous system, the CNS, and we're going to upregulate the the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the PNS, and we're going to bring that back into its balance. That's that tuning fork I was talking about, right? Now, once I get them established with that way, then immediately, and we've done this with over 900 people, by the way, out of our clinics, right? Well, then we went in and said, all right, let's have you take one right before bedtime or within an hour before bedtime, somewhere in that time frame, because now we want to flip that switch around. And so in the nighttime, when you're supposed to be in parasympathetic to repair, regenerate, and rebuild, we want to calm down that sympathetic and bring that parasympathetic back up. So once again, the right tuning fork at the right time for the right outcome of the body. That's the first thing we started noticing. And we have thousands of people that have done that. Now we bring in the PHIT, and the PHIT is unique because the PHIT is more designed to actually affect you while you're at rest. Remember, PHIX itself, the X, is what is balancing the system between stress and rest and digest. The PHIT, the T side, it actually is going to come in and speed up the process to clean you up while you're resting. We're all sitting here. We're resting, yet we're alive. We have a constant flow of energy that has to be done every single second of our life. That's your resting metabolic rate or your resting energy expenditure rate. And PHIT, the one with the T, it actually goes in and starts cleaning that back up. I love that. I actually talked about earlier, is by taking the PHIT, her muscle tone is increasing because we're burning it out of that rancid fat out underneath the skin. We're driving it into muscle. And now the muscle, which we have to keep in mind, the muscle is responsible for metabolism of the body. You feel like you got to get up and move. And when you do, now everything's working better and faster. So just those two alone, we start with the PHIX in the morning. Then we put the PHIT. If you're going to work out, I like it 20 minutes to half hour before you go work out. If you're not, I like it in the morning anyway, because you want to, most people don't have a demanding job, right? Meaning like what you just came out of the mountains for 10 days, 11 days, whatever it was. All right. But there's issues that if you take that, your body is under better control. And remember, going back to the master switch and the tuning fork, now the body's able to adapt as you're going through that. So when you put the PHIX and PHIT together, which by the way, they're designed to do that, one's pulling from the visceral side, the other's pulling from the subcutaneous side, and you're improving the repairability phase, and you're actually increasing the body's communication phase. So those are great. Now, some people are taking a second PHIX PHIT in the afternoon. If they're working out, they have a very demanding physical job, that's beneficial. Someone who works at a computer, doesn't have a high demand job, may not need that second one. But nonetheless, that combination is so designed to go together. It's turning all these things back in to the way God created it to actually operate, Jim.
Yeah, real quick, gang, and then I'll bring Byron and Terry back in here. First of all, Ben will be one of the speakers at boot camp. Just so if you've got people that like want to hear the full meal deal, make sure that you're in Dallas. Secondly, Ben, I was on a Zoom yesterday, and I want to keep this short for time's sake, but we were actually talking about that concept of PHIT and what it does, because the comment was made, somebody said, hey, I put on weight. As we started talking through this conversation, you've been intimately involved with this, and we actually had Trey on the Zoom. He said, first of all, that's impossible. Here's what's happening. The metabolic rate goes up, which means you're increasing. He used the example of working out. So when I work out, I get hungry because I speed up my metabolism, correct?
Right.
I want to make, you're the doctor, I don't want to misspeak. So as that process happens, what do humanoids tend to want to do? They want to bend their elbow more, meaning they want to consume more food. Okay. So as we bend our elbow more, gang, that's what happens, because it takes, correct me if I'm wrong, it takes calories to increase weight, correct?
Correct. Storage of those calories. There's something I tell my patients, my clients, I go, if you give me 4 to 7 days to break a habitual pattern that you have, first thing is that people have to realize, they go, oh, this is going to help me burn stuff. I can go eat my ice cream. I can go eat my chocolate. I can go eat my whatever. And all of a sudden we're consuming more things because we think this is going to break it down. Well, if it's got sugar in it, we got a major problem with that. Just going to keep that really simple, because that's the number one cause of inflammation. And when that inflammation comes up with the reactive oxygen species, now your body has to retain more fluid. When we're driving this into the muscle and you're not using the muscle, now we get more storage inside the muscle. So some people will bloat, right? Or they'll feel like they're actually gaining, but it's actually a reactive component because they didn't get up and move, and they didn't quit bending that elbow. So if I can get people to give me 4 to 7 days and go through this and do not eat anything more. In fact, if anything, start reducing your intake, because that's what PHIX will do. All right. We have hundreds and hundreds of people we've proven that on. And if you'll pay attention to the body instead of to the desires, which is the leptin hormone, which this rebalance with the vagal system, if we can bring that back under control, 4 to 7 days, life is good. Right. And people will flush things out. They got to make sure they're drinking fluid, and they got to make sure they're up and moving. That's all. That's what life is about. If you don't use it, you lose it. Okay.
Yeah, gang, this has been an incredible cast. We've been doing these, Terry and Byron, it seems like forever. Gang, I'll have you shut your cameras off, and I'll bring my compadres back in. But we started these August 1st.